welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are going to be building this wonderful pygmy hippo habitat. So we are now in Alphabet Zoo obviously, and we have been working through the Zoopedia and we are now on the letter P. So we've just done the polar bear habitat and the pronghorn habitat for the collective region of Polar Point, and now the next habitat we have is the pygmy hippo habitat. Now this also does sort of include a little bit of the outside, so as you can see I've been doing a bit of curb work here, and it's getting to the point where I probably in future zoos will be doing a lot of curb work. I did a lot of this off screen though, just because it's time consuming. As you can see, all these are placed kind of individually, and yeah, so just get rid of that, bit of an issue there. But yeah, so this is Hippo Beach, and if we have a quick gander inside, so we essentially have our little pool over here, and there's like a little viewing area with some more custom fences made from the Australian art pieces. And yeah, it's just a very, very simple build, and I really liked how it turned out. So I'm really excited to show you the speed build of this. So yeah, let's get to it. Right, so with this one, I essentially wanted to create a circular dome-shaped building, just because I feel like, you know, we've had a lot of square buildings and oddly shaped buildings. Let's go back to some more circular buildings for a change, just to try and keep, you know, the variety of buildings in the zoo a little bit different, and just trying to keep it all fresh, trying to do something different every time. So this was some of the African pieces, because obviously pygmy hippos come from Africa, and I decided it was going to be like quite big, and then I decided I'd make it a little bit smaller. So this was the smaller iteration that I did. I really like how the slate like roofing looks. It just looks so like smooth and nice and round. So yeah, this was like just different heights of roofing to try and get that nice circular like roof on the top. Obviously a lot of the domes I've sort of done before have had like flat roofs, so there's also different ways you can do the domes in this game. I will probably do a tutorial soon, mainly just also to show you kind of like how you can do other things. So for example, I've built the giraffe house later on, and I think that would be quite an interesting one to just sort of show you how I built, because unfortunately some of the video recording has crashed, so I'll be able to just sort of take it apart and talk you through it. So here is the underwater viewing area. So always do your water first. If you're doing a water habitat, just get the water out of the way and then build around it. So then that way, you know, you can get the paths and everything right. You can see I was having a bit of fun just trying to get this how I wanted it. I wanted it quite deep. And then you can see I was having fun with the path as well. So essentially the idea was that it would be like beach themed. So I wanted to have like the wooden kind of the beach boards, I think is what it's called. And then we come in here, and then we have like a little area where you go up. Unfortunately, Alphabet Zoo is not very accessible. I may take that into consideration with other zoos in the future. As I said, I don't really tend to go for realism, so a lot of my builds are just kind of stairs everywhere. So this is just sort of the main viewing area now, and I decided to use the African logs just because I like the kind of jagged edge, and it saved me doing it manually myself. You know, it's already there. So yeah, I was just putting in the habitat barrier now, making sure it's all enclosed. Obviously I had to put space for the habitat gate, as you can see, and I wanted to just kind of blend that in a bit as well. I wasn't entirely happy with the space, so I just sort of made like a little shallower area. Maybe the hippos just want to wallow rather than swim. The pygmy hippos in this game are really cute. We have babies as well, so they're really enjoying their habitat. Yeah, so here was me just checking out some of the lighting and stuff, just seeing that the lights are working. I had to check that, obviously it's franchise, so I have to check that the power and everything's working as well. But yeah, and then this was just me connecting this. This does move later on, that kind of like staff center, just because it's a bit in an inconvenient place for like habitat building. But yeah, this is just, you know, our hippo habitat, and we're just putting hippos inside it. I was having a bit of fun with the fencing here. I actually decided I would build my own fence from scratch. Now, I built this using my favourite pieces in the game, which are the Australia art pieces. I just think you can make some really nice, cool, glowing fences with it. I was going to just have plant pots, but I decided no, we're going to go full on for a fence, and I was trying everything. I just could not like get everything to work of what I wanted it to work. So I decided, you know what, let's have some fun with the fencing here. So I used the curvy pieces here, and then I just simply rotated them to get this kind of like nice pattern. And you can get some really nice patterns with this, and obviously they look great at night. Like, that's one of the main reasons I use them. So as I was mentioning in my tutorial video for the fences, I didn't actually use the fence I built there because I was thinking of building that for a Pygmy Hippo habitat, but I did use the same colouring and the same kind of theme ideas. And sometimes, again, you've just got to play around with the pieces and see what works. Like, I feel like this just makes a really nice kind of almost... Like, you see those wrought iron fences that have those kind of funky shapes. It's kind of what it's like, but except it glows. So that's kind of what I was going for. And always, you know, having a good old giant log plinth across the top of the door coming in. So this was also a bit of theming to kind of match, like, you know, the rhino and the other hippo habitat. I figured, well, this is also a hippo habitat, and we've got the other hippo habitat that has this kind of fencing in it. So why not just kind of copy and paste some of this kind of theming over? Now, obviously, I did this manually, didn't just copy and paste it, but this kind of like... I'm trying to make the zoo feel like you're in the same place. So I do, you know, this is why we're using a lot of kind of similar pieces and things as well. So yeah, so this was their like sort of just the viewing area going up there. Sorry, my mind just went blank for a minute then. So I wanted to have it a little, like, lots of different sort of levels as well, and I wanted the wall to continue on with the rest of, like, the bits that are sort of buried underground. So I raised the wall up and just put the 1 meter wall in, just to try and help it blend in a bit more. And then, you know, always make sure if your wall's going down a level, use those slanty pieces to kind of smoothen it out. So this was me just checking, you know, the habitat area. We've got the Pygmy Hippos in now, and I'm just doing all the fancy bits, making it look pretty. So as always, one of my favourite things is to have the feeders right next to the fence, so the animals go over there. We have a waterfall. We have some rockery going on here, nice little bit of rockery. And the hippos, they really like it. They use all of it. Always make sure, you know, you're burying your mud baths and things, just to try and blend them in a bit more. And here's just a simple hippo shelter that I made, just so they've got a way to get out of sight of the people, because obviously, you know, this whole thing, although it's indoors, probably because they're tropical animals, like a lot of the tropical animals in the zoo are being kept indoors where they kind of belong, I suppose. It's a temperate zoo, so it's probably a bit cold for them, so we keep the indoor theme kind of going. So yeah, so as always, I really enjoy doing underwater habitats. I just like trying to make them look really realistic. Like, I mean, when we went to Mexico, when we were snorkeling with turtles, you know, it's an amazing world under the water, and I love just trying to make it look like it's vegetated under there. So hopefully, if we do have an aquatics pack, I mean, obviously, again, this is being recorded way into the future, but if we do have an aquatics pack, then fingers crossed, I won't have to use fake plants anymore, and I can just use actually proper aquatic plants. But here I was trying to make, like, this kind of mangrove, like, because mangroves, obviously, they have a lot more roots than the ones that the game sort of makes these have, so I wanted to make it look like that the mangroves were really under there, so when you're viewing it from, like, the guest view, you can see the roots of the mangrove in the back, and I've sort of achieved what I wanted to do, and I really like how it works. I love these plants because they have this dangly bit, and I know they're not aquatic plants, but they totally 100% could be aquatic plants, and I love using them as, like, water lilies. They're like this awesome, really, like, spiky vegetation. It's great. So yeah, I'm just making sure that, again, none of my trees are sticking out of the dome, just to try and make it feel like the habitat is completely contained. And then here we have more roots just going into it, kind of make it look like the roots are growing into the water and, like, along the bottom. There is a log in there. I did kind of go a little bit overboard with the log. I think I do remove it later just because hippos can't walk around it. Obviously I'm using, like, I think it's the scaviola bushes, which is those, like, really dense bushy bushes, and they make really great underwater vegetation. They make really good, like, terrestrial vegetation. It's just nice, just keep rotating it, and it's just really nice to kind of, like, fill in the gap. So here I'm doing some underwater lighting, and you can really start to see this come together now. I was really pleased with how this turned out. I was really pleased with how this turned out. So yeah, it's just, you know, as you can see, this is the Spanish moss which I'm using. So if you're ever underwater and you're looking at seaweed, like, seaweed is always floating upwards. And it starts with a big bush at the bottom with like some thinner tendrils going up, so that's why I kind of rotate the Spanish moss upside down. You can do it with ivy and that too, but the Spanish moss does really work for that kind of like seaweedy tendrils. Particularly if you're thinking of things like kelp forest as well, they go really like high up. I'd love to get some kelp forest vegetation as well at some point. It'd be cool if you could have it like above the terrain as well, so you could have like these kelp forest plants and just plant them on the terrain and have these really funky looking habitats. Like, oh, I'd go to town with those. So with my whole fantasy thing that I love doing, I'd absolutely love to just go completely crazy with like some kelp forest style like seaweed that's just like on land. It'd be really fucking cool. So yeah, we're getting there now with the habitat, and we are just finishing off the last sort of, you know, the bits, doing the theming now as well, trying to get it all working. And this is where I start to do a bit of the rock work as well outside. I think you will see a little bit of me doing the curbs. So this is just the South American pieces. Obviously this bit is quite straight, and I just wanted to make it look like it was a little bit of a garden. I do a lot because it's such a big project. I can't physically record it all. Sometimes the recordings don't work, sometimes it crashes halfway through and I lose some of like the data I've recorded. So it is a bit hit and miss with what I can record, so I do apologise for the jankiness of my videos with this. I'm hoping my next project will be a lot cleaner and a lot smoother, because at the moment it's a bit all over the place. As you can see, I moved this staff centre gets moved around like so many times. So here we have the sort of garden that I was working on kind of outside the habitat. Just trying to make it look like, you know, it's a bit planned. I'm really enjoying curbing. I think curbing is going to be the way forward in some of my new zoos. I'm not going to continue it with Alphabet Zoo at this point because we're a bit late. There's all that path I would have to do. So yeah, this is just a bit of theming. I had the deck chairs. I've never used them in game before, so you know what, I figured why not use them now. This was inspired a little bit by MDears and her habitat that she built for Mrs. T-Rex's competition. They built that like a big hippo dome, and it looked lovely, and it had deck chairs in there, so that's kind of what it was sort of inspired by. I wanted to have, you know, the sun in it, just to try and sell that tropical beach feeling as well, just do a bit of theming. And then the rest of this was just plants. We've got arrowwood plants to try and mix up the scaviola bushes, and just putting a few of these like air plants in as well kind of really just sells it. So that's it for now, and I will leave you with the cinematics of our lovely hippos running around this habitat. Please do check out my Twitch. I've started twitching now. I don't know if that's the correct term. I suppose it's streaming is the correct term, but I've started twitching, which I suppose also means I could be like watching birds. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Yeah, so go and check out my Twitch. The link is in the description below. You'll get to see me build a lot of these videos like in real time. So all the stuff I'm building in these videos, you'll be able to watch me like build in real time. And you'll also be able to see some of the other projects which maybe don't necessarily make it to video. So for example, competition entries, I don't really bother all the time with videos. The Narnia one I think was sort of an exception. Just because, like, you know, Alphabet Zoo takes up most of my time at the moment, and I want to get this done before the end of the year. Really, I mean, the videos will still be going on until like January, but I want to get the zoo finished so that I can start something new in January when I start my new job, because I'm probably going to have to do like a lot of a smaller scale. So yeah, I will see you in the next video, guys, and take care, and don't forget to press that subscribe button if you want to see more regular content.